you're going through all this, right? Because 10 is a very young age,
Yeah.
right? To be everything. But for those who don't know, for sexual child abuse, it's not really that young. It seems to be
Mhm.
around the age where a couple of years before puberty, where the person is beginning to discover their own body, and they're beginning to trust themselves and see themselves in a different way. This was someone for you, from what you've told me and from what I know, was you're kind of happy, excited to have them around because now it's someone that is, I don't want to say is giving you the attention, but it's someone that you have a positive experience, at least in the
Yeah.
beginning, right? And
Right.
one thing I want to ask you, because I spoke to someone else and they were a sexual abuse victim as well, but later on in life. And I asked them, how was your confidence at that point? And the
Mm.
answer they gave me was interesting. They're saying that, you know what? I didn't have any confidence in myself.
Mm.
Is that a
Yeah, I don't think I
commonality?
had a concept. I don't think I have it. I don't even think I had that idea of confidence as 10. I could potentially project back through my adult lens to try to think about that, but I don't, particularly in the 80s and particularly in Oklahoma. Like we weren't working on this higher conscious level. Like these kids, man, these babies today, oh my gosh, right? They are so evolved and they're so with it and they're so, doing affirmations already at 3 and all these beautiful things, which is wonderful. I think I was simple in that way. It was family. I was just getting up, running around in the woods, playing in my backyard, going across the street to the playground. I was just a kid. I didn't have like these ideas about I'm supposed to feel confident, or we didn't talk about these concepts in my family. And so what is true is that, and I think this is often very much the case, is that ultimately children are socialized to trust the adults in their life and to
Absolutely.
trust the judgment and the actions and the behaviors of the adults. They know better, they know what's going on. And so, what I can say is that when my grandfather began to abuse me, uh, it was easy in the sense to default to, well, this just must be okay, because he wouldn't, even though part of me was afraid and part of me was confused and part of me was hurting, I would, rationalize that or push that away through the lens of like, but he's the adult, so this must be okay, or there must be a reason. And it really wasn't until many, many, many months later, we were out on the front porch and my aunt drove into the driveway unexpectedly and he snatched his hands away from me really quickly. And that was the first time it dawned on me that, uh-oh, he thinks he's doing something wrong. He doesn't want anybody else to know about this. And so now here comes in more of the confusion. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but that's what
No,
comes
it
to
does.
mind
It
in
it,
response to
it, it
that.
does
Yeah.
because you're in a situation where the confusion is
Yes.
replacing what is at the end of the day at 10, you should be, like you mentioned, you should be running in the forest, having fun, full of smiles, like we are today. For those who can't see,
Mhm.
big smiles, everything, right?
Yeah.
That's how it should be at 10. But instead of you confidently playing, you have this confusion being, okay, is this wrong? But it's a person of authority that's doing it. But then when other adults or other people with authority see it, then you see the hand pulling away. It's like, okay, more confusion, like you mentioned. Maybe this isn't okay. So for
Mhm.
you to go from that experience into what you just told me, a marriage that's also abusive,
Yeah.
did you feel that, hey, why am I in these situations? Because I know sometimes people do say that, like you mentioned, they're thinking,
Mhm.
okay, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Did that ever cross your mind?
I mean, for sure, there was this, I was desperate for love. I was desperate for validation. I was desperate for just some sense that I mattered. And that process of looking to the external for that, was where I was at in that journey. through my teen years. It was all about the boys and the girls, but all, and hanging out and like, can your love validate who I am? And unfortunately, what happens as a result of trauma, I mean, there's a million things that happens, but one of them is that you stop trusting your own kind of instinct or sense of self. The very first thing that gets taken away when somebody begins abusing you is choice. And again, when you're looking to authority, then you start to think, okay, how do I reconcile my lack of choice, that being taken away, and now I'm supposed to make choices, but I don't have a strong sense of self. I don't feel worthy or valuable. I don't feel deserving. And so, sometimes people will say to me in the program, like, oh, Rachel, like I always attract like the worst people into my life. And what I always say to them is like, no, you're not attracting anything. What actually is happening is, just imagine you're like standing in a line of people, and somebody who wants to cross boundaries, be abusive, take advantage, they don't scan this line and go, oh, her. Like, it's not written on your forehead, okay? What they do is they go to the first person in the line and they try to push those edges. They try to push those boundaries. And if that person has, confidence and self-esteem and skills for setting boundaries and limits, then that person will say, I'm not the one, no thanks. And then they go to the next person. And so in my life, for a long time, I felt like, well, this is just what I deserve. Take what you can get. Now what I understand is that in the space of me not knowing how to take care of me, I wasn't able to turn it away. I wasn't able to turn away the people that were going to harm me or abuse me.